Are you looking at a townhouse development site but have concerns around the trees and the potential impact they may have on your project? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to share everything you need to know when considering trees on development sites. Let's get into it. Hey guys, Peter Kelly here from Little Fish Property Developments, helping you maximize the value of your land and generate wealth through low-risk residential development projects. We share everything you need to deliver successful projects time and time again. So if you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn the bell notifications on so you don't miss a thing. Whether you have the site you will develop or you are undertaking due diligence on a townhouse site you are considering developing, understanding the impact trees can have on your project's overall outcome will be critical. Trees are without a doubt one of those property development risks that continue to trip up first-time developers. As we make our way through this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know when it comes to assessing trees on your site, on your neighbour's property and council trees, because all can have an impact on your project negatively if you are not careful. Depending on where a tree sits will determine how much control a property developer has and any decision making around it. The trees on your land you will have most control over, the trees on your neighbour's land you will have less control over, and the council trees, well, this will sit somewhere in the middle, all of which you need to be aware of from the outset. Let's break down the situation for each scenario individually. Firstly, let's look at the trees on your site. So the trees that are sitting on your land inside your title. Understanding the trees on your site is essential. Doing it properly will require both time and effort to figure out the impact that they can have on your design. If you plan on removing any trees, you will need to ensure that it will be possible. And if the plan is to retain trees, you'll need to understand how close you can build to them. In saying all this, if your site doesn't have any vegetation overlays and you don't have any significant trees, say over 10 meters high on your site, you should be able to remove your trees. But be mindful what trees are considered significant in your particular council. If you do have any trees you think may be considered significant that you need to remove, the best thing is to do is reach out to council to see if a permit is required. Next, let's look at your neighbour's trees. It's uncommon for beginner developers to assume that they don't need to worry about the trees not directly on their site. This is not the case. If you have a neighbour's tree near your site, they can be super problematic. For starters, you can't remove a tree that isn't yours. But also, even if the neighbour's tree may not be directly on your site, all trees have what is referred to as a structural root zone and a tree protection zone that could spill onto your property. There are restrictions around building in these zones as it may affect the health of the trees. This is where an arborist will carry out a report to assess where these zones are and exactly how big they are and how you can work around them. If you miss a neighbour's tree, hopefully you are starting to see how one small mistake like this has the potential to have a significant impact on what you are looking to achieve. Now let's look at council trees. These can be tricky and largely depend on your specific council and how motivated they are to minimise the tree removal. For the most part, council trees only become a problem if you're looking to add a crossover to the site. There are many factors the council considers when deciding if a council tree can be removed, but the main factor they will consider is how mature the tree is and how it's adding to the landscape of the street. Usually, if it's small, then the council will allow it to be removed. Under the condition, there will be a replacement, all of which at the developer's cost. It is no secret that dealing with trees can be frustrating and challenging at the best of times, especially when you're working across different councils and working with various arborists, and there are many variables and they are not always consistent. In a lot of cases, it isn't black and white. Many scenarios and decisions require discretion from the arborist and the council authorities, which can be tricky to navigate. So being knowledgeable and skilled in this area as a developer will give you a significant advantage. It will position you best for successful outcomes, which is what it's all about. Now let's look at the 6 other things you need to be aware of or consider when undertaking due diligence around trees as a townhouse property developer. Number 1 is root investigation. This is where a professional will use non-invasive or destructive digging methods to identify where the roots are, how big they are, and ultimately what impact the development will have on the tree's well-being. This is often required when the proposed design is going to encroach on the tree's structural root zone. Number 2 is the structural root zone. This is the area or radius around a tree trunk that must be protected to ensure the tree's stability in the ground. If larger roots within the area are damaged, the tree's structure will likely be compromised, possibly causing whole tree failure. Number 3 is the tree protection zone. This is a calculated area above and below ground at a given distance from the trunk to protect the tree's roots and canopy during construction. The tree protection zone is determined by the diameter of the tree at breast height. For number 4, we're looking at keeping trees versus removing. There is no doubt that a developer's life will be much easier if you could clear the site of all trees and start afresh. But at times there is real value in retaining certain trees. It will depend on their species, their health, their size, and probably most importantly, their location, as far as can it work with your design. In some cases, strategically retaining trees on a site will result in a superior finished product because there is no doubt that the right tree kept in the right places can add value to a property. Next, number 5, let's look at vegetation overlays. Local councils and state governments have the authority to protect important vegetation through what is referred to as vegetation protection overlays under local laws. These laws protect vegetation and deliver a balance between protecting the city's environment, people, property, lifestyle, and wildlife. And lastly, number 6, you need to be aware of the landscape overlay. The significant landscape overlay is used to determine landscapes of significance at the municipal level and conserve and control the kind of development that occurs within those landscapes. Landscapes may be deemed significant for a combination of historical, aesthetic, scientific, religious, and social reasons, where vegetation is considered as integral to the amenity of that area. As you can see, there are numerous moving parts when it comes to dealing with trees on these residential development projects. It is important not to get overwhelmed. As they say, how do you eat an elephant? The answer is simple, one bite at a time. So if you have a development site with many trees, the key is to work through them one tree at a time. If you take the time to gain the knowledge required to make the decisions around these trees with confidence, I guarantee you it will give you a significant competitive advantage over your competitors. In a nutshell, you'll make more money. I can't tell you how many excellent sites we here at Little Fish have picked up without competition and for what we would consider under its actual value. Sites with trees, by default, scare the average property developer off, but not us. We see this as a competitive advantage that has been good to us on countless occasions over our journey. The moral of this video is don't fear trees. Double down, learn everything you can so you get the confidence to make the decisions and move with certainty. That's it, guys. That's a wrap. Hopefully you're getting a ton of value from these training videos. We love making them, so if you have any questions or topics that you'd like us to tackle, please drop them in the comments below. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you turn the bell notifications on so you don't get left behind. I'm Peter Kelly. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy developing.